Well, the banking industry is under more pressure than ever these days. Is there any relief in sight on either side? Well, Charlie Gasparino is here now. He's had an exclusive interview with one of the men who may have the answer, and he is SEC Commissioner Daniel Gallagher. And welcome to both of you. But obviously, Charlie, you've got a lot of questions for me.
The voice of reason at the SEC.
Try to be, Charlie. I try. It's a hard job.
Well, this is, you're. Let's be clear. You're a Republican.
Yes, sir.
You are not a big fan of Dodd-Frank.
I do not like Dodd-Frank.
Do not like Dodd-Frank. Neither do the banks like Dodd-Frank.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that the genie could be put back in the bottle? We're 4 years into it, something like that, 4 or 5 years into it.
Right.
Most of it has been, I'd say half of it's been implemented, right?
At the SEC, it's only about half.
It's only about half. There's some that hasn't. Every banker I know, CEO, would love it to be replaced with something more manageable so they don't have to keep, jump through so many hoops and comply with so many rules that allow them, that really have nothing to do with what caused the financial crisis, by the way. What do you say about that?
Well, look, I mean, there's always political change in Washington, and if there is, I think we should take a hard look at whether the whole statute should be eliminated. I think that, the narratives that underlie Dodd-Frank, Wall Street greed, regulatory failures, there were, of course, some of that in the crisis, but it wasn't the cause of the crisis. We all know it was failed federal housing policy.
Failed federal housing, super low interest rates.
Monetary policy, right? These are the things that caused the bubble. But, of course, we've never had a searching inquiry into the actual causes. So we have legislation that doesn't relate to the cause of the crisis.
So let's break it down. We would need both houses of Congress to be Republican.
Right.
And you would need a Republican president.
You would, absolutely.
And if that does happen, which is a good shot that's going to happen, do you think it goes?
It could. It absolutely could. And they're going to look hard at it. I think they are, and they should. They should. I think this is a fatally flawed statute.
So Paul Ryan and the powers that be in the House really want to let it go?
Well, I can't speak for them, but they should. They should. I hope they're watching today.
Okay, well.
They watch everything.
Interesting, sort of, when you drill down into the regulatory apparatus on the banks right now, it is causing job losses. I mean, you don't see it like with waves of layoffs, but I'm going to give you an example. Barclays, yesterday we reported, is shopping its brokerage department. Not a lot of people, maybe about 1,000 people total, 250 brokers. It's pretty obvious that Barclays is coming under a lot of pressure for regulations because it's a U.S. subsidiary of a foreign bank, and now there's another layer of stuff they got, another layer of hoops they have to jump through.
That's right.
And clearly they need to eliminate costs. Are we going to see this keep going on for the next 5 years where banks, especially these foreign subsidiaries, squeeze down the balance sheet?
Absolutely. So I don't know anything about the Barclays situation in particular, but there's a certain rule, a section of Dodd-Frank 165, that has mandated new holding companies for the subsidiaries of foreign banks because the Fed wants to treat them just like their bank holding companies, which doesn't make a lot of sense for some of these operations because they're not. They're brokerage firms, they're asset managers, they're not banks. They're not taking deposits and making loans, but they want to be treated like banks. And when you add bank-like regulation into those entities, Charlie, you can't afford to run it.
They got the protection back in the day, and that was a good thing at the time during the financial crisis. You're saying now it's not.
It's not
working anymore.
Yeah, it's apples and oranges.
And how much you think they'll contract more, like the Deutsche Banks, as the Barclays?
They will. They will. And one little point: when the Fed implements the rules under Dodd-Frank, they don't do a cost-benefit analysis.
Interesting.
No,
they've never done.
They don't do it. No. They're very clear about it.
Has the Volcker rule been? Now that's the thing that allows or says you can't do proprietary trading. Has that trading, using your balance sheet obviously to take a trade? Has that been implemented totally yet?
I believe July is the implementation date.
The last time you were here was how long ago?
I think it was a year or two. I can't remember.
You were saying within months of that it wouldn't be implemented.
That's right.
Still,
and I was right, wasn't I? I'm here to say I was.
You were victory lap.
Right.
Yeah.
Victory lap right here on the show.
So here we are. So it's supposed to be July. I believe the Fed has given an extension of another year on a certain provision of it, not prop trading but covered funds. And there's some speculation maybe there'll be more by way of extension. And it's up to the Fed. It's not a multi-agency vote on the extension.
But it's still not.
It's still not in place. No. And I think the impact has been felt tremendously, but it's still not formally in place until July.
Volcker, since we're talking about Volcker, is back in the news a little bit, talking about a sort of a new way to regulate the markets. Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, so I guess he's got a plan with a group of other folks to rethink the regulatory structure. Now, of course, Dodd-Frank said it was going to rethink the regulatory structure and rationalize the alphabet soup of Washington. And so, of course, they got rid of the OTS.
We should throw up a chart. We do have a chart, I think. Do we have a chart of what banks have to, how it's regulated? I mean, it looks like, if you see it, and I got it here.
We don't have the chart.
Whatever
actually,
it is,
but,
if you can ever look at this, it's so
With
insane.
Charlie's notes.
This is Ross. What do they call Rorschach test?
Rorschach test.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. I mean, that's what they have to comply with.
We created that, and I put that on the SEC website. So if you go to sec.gov and look in the statement section, you'll find my
But it's insane.
It's insane.
We can see a lot more about you, Dan. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for having me
Really,
on,
the
guys.
voice. I feel like I have the voice of reason in front of me.
Happy to come anytime.
Which balances out Mr. Gasparino over here.
No one can
The
balance out
non-reason.
Charlie.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Great interview.
Thank
Very
you.
much.
Good job. Good to see you.
All right. Well, the